Welcome to Magnet Marketers, our weekly live show where we break down the head, heart, and hand approach to building sustainable growth in your business. During each episode, we share actual client marketing best practice examples, strategies, and tactics that will help you generate real results. Our belief? A magnet always works better than being a bullhorn to attract, retain, and build your brand. Ready to dive into this week's Relationship Marketing Training Tuesday? Well, let's get started. Here's your host, Mike Gingerich and Jessika Phillips. Yay. Hello, and welcome back to Magnet Marketers Training Tuesday. We were off last week because of Social Media Marketing World in San Diego, which was an amazing time to see so many just friends in the industry, meet new friends, and really soak up a lot of information. And I'm still feeling just energized from that because our guest that we have with us today that we'll be bringing up in a minute was one of the lovelies that we got to see in real life, the Miss Stephanie Liu from Captivate on Command. And we're going to be talking all about NLP today. And if you do not know what NLP is, you will want to, because it has something to do with everything that you do in business, how you communicate, your confidence, how you reach your goals faster, and so much more. So if that sounds interesting to you, you definitely want to stick around. But let us know where you're watching from and who is watching with us. We can give you a shout out and hello. And if we've not met before, hello, my name is Jessika Phillips with Now Marketing Group in the Relationship Marketing System. My personal mission is to help you love more, give more, and be more through the art of authentic relating. And my awesome co-host, he's Mike Gingerich. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, doing well. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Mike, I love your bio because you've been changing up a few things, which we'll dive into in a minute as well. But Mike lives to add value to people's lives in uncommon ways, such as running a marathon in Iraq to raise funds to rebuild homes for displaced Iraqis. He loves to explore through travel, is a fitness nerd, and tries to leave lots of smiles behind. Mike, I missed you last week, but you keep me smiling every time I see you. So welcome.
Good. I lived vicariously through your photos, so I appreciated you keeping me up to date.
Oh, always. All right. Well, you want to talk about our guest?
Yeah, super excited. Yes. So I first met Stephanie in person at Social Media Week Lima. Not the past year, so that'd have been again in the past whenever she was there, and so I am looking forward to having her here today and to talk about NLP, which and business uses for that, and I think that that's gonna. I have a lot more to learn about that, and so looking forward to this. But if you don't know Stephanie, let me go through because she's a tremendous talent. Stephanie Liu is a live video strategist for brands and entrepreneurs, from moonwalkers to MasterChefs who want to go from unknown to unforgettable. She does that. A digital marketing expert with 15 years of ad agency experience, she's helped thousands of clients and students get on the Fascination Fast Track to ignite their ideas and become confident on camera. As a certified Neuro-Linguistic Programming Trainer, Stephanie teaches brain hacks to help people overcome their fears of public speaking by rewiring their minds for success. With her system, clients discover how to create crave-worthy content, get audiences buzzing with excitement, and how to deliver a spellbinding presentation that hooks viewers in. I mean, are you ready for this? That's what we need, right? Her client, MasterChef Claudia Sandoval, drove 178,000 downloads of her book from her first live stream within 24 hours. She's also coached astronaut Jessika Meir and her team for a live interview in space. How many of you have done that? All right. She was named one of the top 50 digital marketing thought leaders by the University of Missouri, St. Louis, and her work's been recognized by Forbes, Online Marketing Media, Advertising, PR Daily, Forrester, and more. Looking forward to having her here. Stephanie is the host of Lights, Camera, Live, and the co-founder of Leap into Live Streaming Bootcamp. Spoken in Social Media Marketing World, VidCon, Podcast Movement, Social Media Week Lima. She's the co-author of Ultimate Guide to Social Media, published by Entrepreneur Press. She lives in sunny San Diego. We need to bring her in.
I think so. You guys, talk about a bad mama jamma.
Hey,
how's it going?
How are you guys doing? Look at you. You guys look amazing.
So do
Thank you. Good to have you here.
Oh, happy to be here. Happy to be here. I'm already seeing the comments come in. I see Vanessa,
Yeah.
Jennifer, Julia,
Uh-huh.
Jacqueline. I was like,
Yep.
hey, come on
Uh,
through.
I was like, you already
Yes,
got a
yes.
whole crew posse in here ready. They said that intro alone is exciting. Wow. We want to find out what astronauts are hiring you for to be confident, and all of these celebrities and people like me. I've worked with you and Jacqueline in the comments. I know there's several others that have been able to experience your magic and also just watch you and how you deliver on camera so confidently, effortlessly is what it looks like. But I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I've seen this even last week with communicating with you in person at Social Media Marketing World. But
Oh,
Stephanie, I stumbled into NLP a few years ago, really just kind of trying to do some research on helping myself in growth areas that I was just meeting some resistance in. And then I seen that you were really mastering this NLP and going through the training and becoming then a teacher of it. But for people that do not know what NLP is, could you explain NLP and how this relates to business?
Oh, absolutely. This is like, go ahead and get like your notepads and write this down,
Yeah.
because more often than not, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in business, you've heard those three letters, NLP. What does that mean? And what it really boils down to, it's understanding neuro. Neuro is pretty much, how do you process information? Let's be honest, some of us learn because we're visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, or even just auditory digital, where we want to know, like, what's the process? What's the framework? And when you're able to deliver content to a client, to even like your kids, or even like, convince your spouse on why you want something or you want to invest in something, knowing how they process information
Mm.
and delivering it to them in that way that makes sense to them, that
Yeah.
resonates with them, is magical. Then we also take a look at linguistics. Linguistics is really understanding how our thoughts become our words. Because more often than not, when we have our discovery calls with clients, you're like, so what's the story behind that? Who told you that? Right? You start to understand, what are their values, their beliefs, their attitudes. How are they motivated? These are things that you could pick up on cues when they're filling out your questionnaires, discovery calls, things of that sort. And when you hone in on that, okay, now you could go ahead and give them the solution that they need, right? Then the other part is the programming. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes when we get into the shower, right? Jessica's like, wait a second. Do you wash your hair first or do you wash your body first? You probably don't even think about it, but it's this unconscious programming that you do. Same thing with how we work towards our goal. Some people might have this programming of, oh gosh, to make money. Oh, I have to work hard to make money. And I was like, oh, cancel. No. Money comes to me easily, effortlessly, consistently, and without any drama. That's my belief. That's my programming, right? And so understanding how your clients are motivated to reach a goal, whether it's the carrot or the stick, you have to be flexible in your communication. And that's what NLP really is. It's understanding you and understanding how you communicate. But then when you sit down and you talk to someone, whether it's via Zoom, in person, what's their communication style? How are they motivated? And that way you could be the best consultant, coach, best friend, strategist, all the things for them to get to where they need to be.
Wow. Beautiful.
I love how you explained we don't think about it. It's on autopilot a lot of times, the programming, and it does take some conscious effort to think through and be aware, first of all, of the different program styles that people have, or, the communication styles, excuse me, but then also realizing that a lot of what we do, what we believe, and how we respond all boils back to that communication, whether internal and external communication. So it can really change the way that somebody's responding to you, as well as how we are showing up for ourselves, right? Like, so this tied into business. You just mentioned, the carrot and the stick and how we're approaching. Could you give us an example of programming that NLP can work through to help things that it can help you recognize, as well as maybe something that can help you change up in a style in order to show up in a better way for?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of times in NLP, when it comes to business and programming, I want to talk about like those business entrepreneurs where they have everything templated, everything is automated, right? And sometimes they do that because it streamlines business and workflows. But let's be honest, the decisions that we make aren't always rational. If everything was based off of logic, then we wouldn't have drama, issues, or war even at that point, right? A lot of times when we have to help make someone come to a decision, right? We have to go through their decision-making process. And that in and of itself is an unconscious program. Like think about like the last thing that you really invested in. Let's say you went to a conference in a beautiful place called Social Media Week Lima, right? Something had to happen for you to even consider investing in that, right? Maybe your thought process or your decision-making process was you saw it, you saw the speaker lineup, and then auditory, you heard about it. You heard about like, oh my gosh, this changed my business. And then you're like, okay, well, how does this compare to all of the other conferences out there? What am I going to get from it? What are all those different things? That in and of itself, in NLP, we actually chunk that down to say, okay, so they have to see it. They have to hear about it as social proof. And then they're going to do a price comparison. That's just an example of a simple decision-making strategy. VA, right? V, which is visual, auditory, then auditory digital. Then they make a decision. They have to go through that process. The reason why this is so helpful is because sometimes consultants are like, here's the proposal. Okay, call me when you're ready. And it's like, wait a second. It's like, what if we hop on Zoom and I could show you our onboarding process? And if you have any questions about it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And you know what, compared to your last agency, this is what makes us different. Now you're speaking and you're structuring your pitch in a way that aligns with your client's decision-making strategy. Does that make sense? So it takes them away from being so automated and streamlined. Don't get me wrong, I love that stuff too, but let's be honest, you know, if someone can make us feel confident in our decisions, if someone can help us see how easy it is for us to get to our goal, then that's going to be helpful. Or you could be that person like, oh, they're motivated by the stick. Here's what's not going to happen if you keep doing the same thing, because nothing changes if nothing changes, right?
That's right. So okay, carrot and the stick. Is there so obviously those are two different motivation styles that people can have. And but also I think you mentioned, so is there when you're trying to kind of understand someone that you're going to be speaking with, am I looking for am I trying to listen to understand those two aspects, or am I going, do I need more?
You need more. Yeah, they're good. This. I mean, like Jessika has spent 7 days with me because this is the part where, you know, we start dissecting how do we process information. So I already gave you the tip off. Some people learn visual, auditory, kinesthetic, auditory, digital, right? When you're working with a client, do you actually have those assets in your business to cater to that type of decision-making style? If you're the only one that's like, well, we just hop on a phone and I talk you through it. For a visual learner like me, I'm like, oh, no, right? I need to see this. I need to see the workflow. I need to understand, when do we close out phase 1 and phase 2, right? The other things that you're going to listen for are their values, beliefs, their attitudes. How do they find value in the service that you're offering? Because you could just be a commodity, or you could be that one that says, Stephanie, this solution is going to give you that freedom, that flexibility, and the autonomy to do whatever it is that you want. That motivates me. Yeah. But if you're like, oh, Stephanie, you're going to have to work like 60 to 80 hours a week, but trust me, you're going to make all the money in the world. I'd be like, no.
I'm out.
Yeah, it's like, I'm out, because some people aren't motivated by money. So when you know what your client's values are, right, they will move heaven and earth towards that. And so when you start structuring your language, your pitches, your landing pages, and all of the different things, because you know what they find most valuable, that's where you're really going to move the needle in their business.
And honestly, Stephanie, too, like, first of all, I feel like this is the hack for business and life. Honestly, as NLP, I feel like I got a whole new programming on just how to show up for myself, my team, and my clients in a way that made things a lot more effortless for myself, right? Like just to have a lot more ease. Like when you said, about money coming to me continuously, effortlessly, increasingly and without drama, like getting
Bring it.
that
I'm like, bring
programming.
it, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I was like, more of that. I read that every day, by the way.
Yeah.
But going through the training and learning NLP, I feel like, oh my goodness, like this is where we should start at with school. But also I found not only am I speaking to the client style, but I found, I'm sure most people can guess if they know the different types of, like how people show up. I'm kinesthetic. Like I love, and I love connecting with others on an emotional level. But I found that when I can show up in that way, I'm also attracting and meeting more people like me now that we can work well together because of our values and how we want to show up. So I found that then that helped me craft the team that is now not, I don't need to hire everyone just like me. I need those other styles, right? But you also start attracting more people like you too, if you want. And that really helped me with finding the clients that I enjoy working with.
Yes.
And with ease.
That's right.
And George says, dropping knowledge bombs in the sweetest tone ever.
Oh,
And Jennifer
that's
has
a
it. Oh my God.
learned thing too. It's
Yeah.
a learned thing too as well.
Mhm.
When we talk about NLP in business too, right? So even not in just the words that we use, but how we communicate. So for a visual person like me, like Mike, you probably saw me at Social Media Week Lima, right? And I talk really fast. I'm like boom, 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 because I'm visual. And visual communicators, we usually jump from like one idea to the other because it pops up, right? Which is great and that's fun. But for someone like Mike Alton, who I absolutely love, he's an auditory person. And so I have to pace myself. And I have to like, okay, this is what I'm saying. And oftentimes when I'm pitching to a client, they'll say back to me, so what I'm hearing you say is, I'm like, oh, giveaway, that's an auditory learner. If I am teaching a kinesthetic group, right, I want to have worksheets. I want them to do hands-on exercises so they get that comfortable feeling, that confidence. I want to say, this is your dry run. This is your safety net, right, for you to engage and get your questions answered now. And then, for the auditory digital, here's the roadmap, fill it in. We'll do all this stuff. And it's super duper helpful. And yeah, Mike Alton's so true. He says, slow down. And that's something I consciously had to learn. Consciously.
I'm just thinking, Jessica, of your presentation, right? I mean, didn't you kind of, you're trying to touch on those aspects because, a workbook, so fill in the, blanks. So reaching out to kinesthetic, plus obviously you're speaking, plus you're showing so you had multiple things going on there.
Exactly like what you just said, what Stephanie said. You want to make sure that when you're showing up, that you, especially in presentations, that you can identify and reach each different type of learning in the room. So I wanted to speak, I wanted to engage others that wanted to talk things out during the presentation that I had, because I was doing a workshop. That's 90 minutes of you're staring at somebody in front of you after lunch. Okay. So I'm like, oh man. And it was the first day. So everybody just traveled in. So many people were having jet lag. So I'm like, I need to engage in a way that's going to make everyone feel comfortable. So I am a fast talker too, and will talk with my hands. So I consciously slow down and take breaks too. And also another thing that NLP taught me is to read the room and read the people and to mirror. So maybe I think mirroring is like one of my favorite things too, Stephanie. So if you can touch on that, and then we'll keep going. But to make sure that everybody was engaged and felt met where they were at, I guess.
Yeah. So matching and mirroring is a way for you to build rapport with your audience at an unconscious level. And when your audience, especially when you're doing a workshop, are in good rapport with you, because if you start, leaning towards one way and they start leaning, or if you lean back, they lean back. And that's how you know that they're unconsciously following every single thing that you're saying. But here's the fun part, because you do workshops, Jessika, I'm just like, girl, let me tell you. you could actually find who your rapport leaders are in the audience. So if you have like rows and rows of people, right? The people that are sitting in the back are matching and mirroring the row that's in front of them. And so it goes all the way to the front. And so all you really have to do to get rapport of the whole entire room is hone in on, okay, who's leading the pack? Who's mirroring who? Because if you could get that person to nod their head, the person in the back is going to nod their head. The whole entire time, now you realize everyone's nodding their head. One of the things that I love to do is if I raise my hand, everyone raises their hand. Now, as a speaker, this is like a hot tip. If you could get everyone to raise their hand, you go photographer, take a picture. This is me speaking on stage, getting everyone engaged. Not only that, though, but if you were to say something like, okay, stand up if you want to make this commitment. Stand up if you're committed to building more relationships. Boom, that's a photo right there. But now you're doing it strategically in how you're structuring your workshops. So there's a lot to this, and it's so much fun on how you work the room, how you build rapport, where you have your stories, right? We talk a lot about even anchoring. And so when we work the room, right, Jessika, we focus on like problems, pain points are over here. You never put that on you, right? Because what you've anchored on yourself is, I'm the expert. I know what's going on. You want freedom, flexibility, right? So this is what we have to do. And all the good things, you're always going to anchor it over here. Anchor it over here. And that's the things that, that we consciously think of when we're designing, when we're coaching speakers, how to work the room, where are you placing things, even if you're doing multi-day trainings, which I do, right? And so if I said, okay, this is a story over here that I talked about on day 1, on day 2, like, remember that? Remember when we talked about, they're like, oh yeah. And you'll see in their brain, they've unconsciously like, oh yeah, that's a story of this. Or sometimes even when I'm working with a client and they have an objection, I'm like, okay, so let's talk about that and let's table it for now. And you'll see them and go, oh, okay. And then it's no longer there. Like, why is that all of a sudden off the table?
But it helps calm people. And Jen, if you did want to, okay, Jennifer does have a question, so let me get to that too. But I love the mirroring and the matching, like as you just said, because it does build this rapport, and you can tell. And sometimes I'll add those questions in to test to make sure it's still there, right? And to get that feedback, whether it's just a client one-on-one or you're doing a room. But then I love the anchoring, and I know this is like 30 minutes, and we did.
Did time pass by already?
180 hours of
We're still good. We got a little bit.
No, we got time. But I'm just saying, but there's so much to unpack, and it's so amazing. But I wanted to share one thing about anchoring that we're just talking about, is that when you anchor things, you can even anchor to recall like a feeling, an emotion, a state of mind. And so one thing I use before going into a client presentation or on stage is that anchoring recall to touch a place where I've anchored things, which NLP, when you go into the training, if you do this training, you'll learn more about it. But to get back into that state of confidence, comfortability, and just feel back into the same energy that I want to bring quickly, confidently, and, just with ease. And I love that, because it's so crazy how you can just recall something quickly and get back into that state, no matter how you were feeling before. And everybody needs to learn NLP basically. But let me go to Jen's question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you learn how to be confident on demand, now you're in control. Now you are at cause. You're not waiting for this spark of inspiration. You're not waiting for an external cue for someone to say, hey, you did a good job. Like, that you did a good job because you've done it before, and you could recreate that success, because if you've done it once before, you could do it again.
Yeah. I love how your question's so aligned, Jennifer. I didn't even read it ahead of time, but it's like, how can you use NLP in your everyday life to stay positive and to try a new routine? Second, would love to hear about anchoring. So
yeah. How do you use NLP in your everyday life to stay positive and try a new routine? So this was funny because we do something called chaining anchors. And it's when we want to create a new habit, we have to know that sometimes, going from one thought or one starting point to getting to the other isn't just as easy as that. Sometimes you need little baby steps in between. And so we actually create these chaining anchors where it goes little baby step, little baby step, little baby step. But within 5 minutes, Jennifer, we could have you, boom, that's automatically how you're going to be. So instead of feeling Like, I'll give you a good example. Instead of feeling frustrated or getting mad if someone disrespects me, right? I go and I dissociate. So I'm like, boom, I'm not in it. I'm not in the body feeling the feelings of it. And then I make myself calm and then I laugh. So if someone says something that's rude, I'm like, oh, right? It just rolls off my back. And so that's a new habit. That's a new routine for me, because past Stephanie would have been like, hold up. They always say things like, if someone goes low, you go higher. Past Stephanie would be like, if they go low, I take it to the floor. But we don't do that anymore, right?
Yeah.
But it's new habits, it's new routines. And then anchoring, Jennifer, that's one part of it, right? So Jessika had talked about like anchoring those feelings of confidence, happiness, all those amazing things that make you you. That's anchoring. We also call that stacking anchors, the ones where we get you from point A to point D, because again, it doesn't always go point A to point B. Sometimes you need the baby steps. That is also anchoring in between the mini steps that you need. So anchoring in and of itself, that's basically a really strong fundamental within NLP.
And that's why I went to Mexico quite a bit, and I'm getting ready to go back in a couple of weeks, because I knew it was like one of my happy places. It was like this place that I know that brings me to a state of feeling that I want to feel all the time, right? But at least to be able to recall when things get stressful. Peace to me is feeling the sand in my toes and hearing the waves of the beach, and to, feel the sun on my shoulders, and to be laughing with friends and not cooking and having someone else cook the food, right? Like all of those things that we would all love to have every day, right? But putting myself, if I'm in one of those situations and I'm feeling that good feeling, then you can drop basically that recall and drop that in your button, if you will, to recall later.
Yes.
And that's, I love that. So then when those moments happen again, like when I get off stage at Social Media Marketing World, or I see a comment in here, which I just did, when I seen a comment in here talking about they love the presentation, bam, touching it back in so I can recall that later, and to bring that confidence and, recall of that emotion.
To relive it. Yeah. And so here's the thing too, is that Jessika just shared with you. She just told you what gets her into a relaxed state. So let's say if I was a business and I was trying to pitch her, I'd be like, oh, toes in the sand. That's the type of day that I have. And did you just see her face? She's just like, whoa. Yep. And if you could, just think about that. If you could have your client go like, whoa, and now they're in the right mindset, you just said, toes in the sand. And she's just like, yep, she can't stop nodding her head. She's like, yes, more of that,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things of how can you get your client to relive that moment of being confident in a decision, of being like, okay, cool, we're part of a team, and all those different things. It's like you're pushing aside all of that fear, that anxiety, that doubt of working with a new agency, working with a new consultant, things of that sort. You're putting them in that right mindset of, hey, this is going to be a breeze. It's going to be just like walking along the beach, toes in the sand. Her face is glowing. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It's like,
she's there.
So you could see it. And these are all sensory acuities of when you know how to anchor your clients, right? Like, oh my gosh, like when I go on a call with a client, I'm like, instantly they smile, right? So I will always do them like, hey, you're here. Because now I put a smile on their face. I've shifted their energy from like, oh gosh, I've been in one meeting from the other and one meeting from the other. When you know how to shift someone's energy into open mind, open heart, open hands, cool.
I don't even start a conversation with anyone until they do that. Honestly, like try to shift, like because you can feel it. So sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No. I mean, she just understatedly said, cool. I mean, no, that's awesome. That's
cool breeze.
I love it. Anna says this replay is going to rock. Abso-freaking-lutely. Speaking of the replay, if you type the word recap in the comments right now, you will get the blog recap that comes out tomorrow with all the goodies. the written version of this. If you like the visual, you can watch it back. You can listen to the video again and keep listening and learning new nuggets every time. But it'll also have links to connect with Stephanie and learn more about this, because we just happened to talk with you today, and we scheduled this a long time ago. But there's no accidents in this world, right? It always happens for a reason. The universe is aligned, always work in our favor. But you have a training coming up in 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Can you imagine that? So just imagine what it would be like if you were to spend 7 days learning about NLP, understanding you, your communication style, how you put yourself out there, how you communicate with clients in 7 days. Boom. That is it. So we get started April 6th to the 12th. And by the end of that session, you're pretty much certified as an NLP practitioner in coaching, hypnotherapy, and timeline therapy. And these are all the things that really help you understand a client, understand their programming, how they come up with their decisions, how to overcome objections, the power of metaphors, right? There's so much in there that's jam-packed in these 7 days. And I'll be honest, it's not often that I get to spend 7 days with people. But this is an opportunity to really unpack what's your onboarding process. How do you pitch? What's working? What's not working? What are those little shifts that you can make to create these big impacts? Because let's be honest, nothing changes if nothing changes. It's practically the end of Q1. At this point, you've already looked at your financials, hopefully, to be like, okay, am I at where I needed to be? And if I'm not where I'm at, where I need to be, what needs to change? Because if I keep doing the same thing, then that's what I can expect in Q2, in Q3, in Q4. So what's the difference that makes the difference?
Beautiful.
Yeah, Vanessa is in here and she said, NLP is a game changer. Once Lou trained me, my business blew up, and I can tell you the same. And actually, my schedule slowed down in a good way while my business grew. I was working myself to death and was making money, but not enjoying it. I found a way of doing both, which I could enjoy then, and while making my schedule more freed up. So I think NLP taught me as much about how to relate to others as it did to relate to myself, and find out what I could change and what I could expect, and change those programmings that said you have to work hard to make money. Granted, you work, but it doesn't have to be a struggle in order to earn the money or feel like that's the only way to deserve it, right? Like that was some of the biggest things I learned too.
I would say more often than not, what most people say is, wow, this just got easy. And the reason why it gets easy is because now you understand why your client has the problem that they have.
Yeah.
And when you're able to like zoom out, like, pinch zoom, and you're able to show them, okay, so I'm starting to see patterns here. And let's talk about why those patterns keep coming up. And then that's when they realize, oh, got it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So what do I need to do to make that happen?
I love it. So if people want to learn more, Stephanie, and they want to get signed up, they're ready to go. I see everybody in here like, yes.
They're recapping. They want info.
Exactly. Yeah. Come through. Head on over to captivateoncommand.com. There's this fancy little button there. You click on that, you will have a one-on-one time with me. And I will tell you this. Most people that will hop on the call are like, where have you been all my life? And I'm like, I know. Because it's one of those things where for the first time, it will feel like when you talk to someone that's NLP trained, it will feel as if you're actually being heard. If someone's actually listening to you, if someone is actually stepping into your shoes and be like, oh, I got you. I understand you. And so that's your opportunity. If you're like, okay, I want something different. I want to learn a different skill that's really going to have an impact, not only in my business, but in my personal relationships.
Yes.
Yeah. Head
With
on
your
over
kids,
to Captivate on Command.
everybody.
Oh, kids.
This
Yes.
taught me so much on how to communicate with my teenage daughters and just people around me, and so much better now in a relationship. Like I was like, yes, it's like a life hack, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Values is a really big thing. And we've been mostly talking about practitioner, but in master practitioner, we go way deep into values and understanding where those values come from. Because more often than not, you'll hear people talk about beliefs and limited beliefs, but those beliefs are actually hooked on to a value. And when you know what those values are, then you could shift those values. And when you shift those values, then you get rid of a couple of beliefs. And then those are usually tied to the ones of money.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it's good. So if you guys want to learn more, again, captivate recap, you'll get introduced to the blog for tomorrow, which will easily allow you to click and find out more, or just go on to Captivate on command now and click that fun button that gets you access to that one-on-one call where you can be heard and learn more about NLP and how you can use it within your business to reach your goals, feel more confident on camera or on stage or just in your everyday conversations. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for just showing up here. I know you just are always on demand and in demand, I should say, but I appreciate you taking some time out and sharing your wisdom with us here.
Thank you so much. This is so much fun. I could always geek out about this.
Yay. Always, always. All right. And thank you, Mike. Mike, you are you're doing any running or anything here coming up soon?
Yes. Continuing to train and training for an event in May. It's a duathlon.
All right, we're gonna cheer him on, and Mike, that means we got to anchor some of those things that's going to keep you going. All right.
Right.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in with us here today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and we will see you back here next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Magnet Marketers. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
Stephanie. Bye, Mike.